Dirt Rally 2.0 is a game that has a very steep learning curve, but here are 5 tips to try and flatten that curve. Tip number 1, start off with the right cars. It might be tempting when you first start the game to jump straight into a legendary rally car, like the Audi Quattro or the Lancia Stratos, but even after hundreds of hours of playing Dirt Rally and Dirt Rally 2.0, I still struggle to drive these cars. Start off in the H1 category with either the Mini, the Citroen DS21 or the Fulvia. Once you feel like you've got a grip on H1, move to H2, four-wheel drive. These have more power than the H1, but they're still relatively easy to handle. It then might seem like the next natural step is to move on to H2 rear-wheel drive, but these are actually some of the most difficult cars in the game. So I would actually suggest heading all the way to the modern R2 class next. This is the class that is used for junior WRC and will give you good power while still being easy to manage. Next, I would recommend jumping into the R4 class. This class is four-wheel drive, so your speed will massively increase, but it is a good step up from the four-wheel drive cars and lots of fun discovering how much grip a four-wheel drive rally car has. If you then want to jump into the world of rear-wheel drive, the Alpine A110 is the way to go. Tip number 2, learn about pace notes. The first time driving with pace notes seems very unnatural, and it's going to take a while until it's something that comes instinctively. Make sure that you learn what each note means. There are plenty of guides out there on the internet, so if you don't know what a call means, make sure you look it up. It's also important to recognise that the pace notes in Dirt Rally 2.0 are not written specifically for each car. The same notes are used depending on whether you're in a fire-breathing Group B car or the Citroen DS21. This means the timing of the calls won't always be correct, or the number won't be suited to the car that you're in. Just like when driving in real life, it's important to read the road as well as you can, and not solely rely on the pace notes, but rather use them as a guide. It's also important to note that you will eventually more or less learn the stages, and then the pace notes will be more like a trigger, rather than something that you need to rely on. If you're finding that the notes are coming too late or too soon, make sure you change the timing in your preferences, and find timing which suits you. As you become faster, you will probably find that you need to adjust the timing. Tip number 3, focus on your line. This is something that I probably didn't focus on well when I first started playing Dirt Rally, and it took me a long time to fix my bad habits. Racing lines in rallying are not as straightforward as they are in circuit racing, although the principle is still the same. Start wide, hit the apex, and exit back out to the outside of the corner. It can be tempting to hear a left call and start heading over to the left-hand side of the road. But generally when you hear a left call, you should be on the right-hand side of the road, ready to turn in and hit the apex. It might sound simple, but it takes a lot of practice, especially when the car is sliding and moving around. Make sure you brake before the corner and accelerate out of the corner, just as you would in circuit racing. Tip number 4, don't go flat out straight away. There are 2 types of people in this world, those who try and set a world record the first time they play, and they crash even before the first corner. And then there's those who drive like they are on their way to the shops. When you first start driving, it will be tempting to try and drive like Colin McRae, but it's important to start off slow and build into it. Try to string together stages without spinning and crashing, and build your pace slowly. In the first career difficulty, the AI are very slow, so you have the luxury of learning the basics without having to set blistering times while still being able to progress through the career. Tip number 5. This is my number 1 tip, is to practice. The only way you'll ever get good at this game is to practice and practice and practice. You will crash a lot, you will finish the stage and be more than a minute slower than the top leaderboard time, but you will get there with practice.
Slow, keep right into narrow, 6 left long, 50, turn 1 left, don't cut, 50, all right long, 100, flat middle of a crest, 150, slow, 6 left into turn, 1 left cut, 50, 5 left long, into 6 right, extra long, 60, 60, flat long crest, 30 over finish into don't cut, 6 right.